RCR with Paul Brennan.
Have you heard of Pillar? Pillar NZ, protecting individual life, liberty and rights. They're a civil society organisation dedicated to defending fundamental freedoms in New Zealand. Through research, advocacy and education, Pillar works to ensure that responses to modern challenges remain consistent with democratic values and the protection of individual rights. Joining us from Pillar NZ is Nathan Seiuli. Nathan, I've been aware of you. Nice to meet you finally. Thanks for coming on RCR again.
Thanks, Paul. I don't know if I should be concerned or honoured that you may have heard of me. Infamous or famous, I'm not too sure.
I'd go with honoured.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I'll take the title.
I don't know. I didn't think that through when I said that. So maybe I'll think of another word. I want to read this from your website. New Zealand is on the brink of a major shift in how people prove who they are, how they access services, and how the state monitors digital life. Under the banners of convenience, safety, and child protection, proposals for digital ID systems, age verification, expanded surveillance, and online regulation are rapidly advancing. And you say at Pillar, we believe these changes carry serious and irreversible risks to privacy, personal freedom, and democratic choice. Let's talk about your criticism first of the parliamentary inquiry into online harms affecting young Kiwis. And you say it failed in its basic responsibility to properly analyse the issue. Flesh that out, if you don't mind, Nathan.
Yeah, so anyone who bothered to read the inquiry will see that it's riddled with caveats and excuses to effectively justify the premeditated response that they put out. Dr. Parmjit Palmer of the ACT Party also made a similar observation. She was one of the very few members of that select committee that was opposing a social media ban on the basis that it would just cause huge risks and threats to online security and privacy. And effectively what the inquiry said was they didn't deem themselves as well enough or resourced enough to look at all the relevant information, and that they would pass that responsibility on to the government through the legislative process. Now, select committee, their job is to inquire, obviously, to research, to ask questions, to consult with experts. The select committee in their report said that they were approached by YouTube to share on their experience with the Australian ban. They declined that invitation from YouTube. So when you've got companies like YouTube, who are a major stakeholder, key contributor in this space, offering to give you insight as to how a ban might work, could affect children and other users, and you turn that down, you have to start to wonder what the goal of the inquiry was. Was it performative, or did they genuinely undertake the responsibility delegated to them by the government and the people who elected them to ensure that this would be good, robust legislation at the end of the day? And they didn't. They openly admit that they didn't check for the costs and benefits, their own words, to the recommendations that they were making.
This not checking on costs and benefits seems to be a pattern here. We've heard this
Yeah.
before. I mean, look at the whole COVID response. No cost benefit analysis. Can you believe that? Can you believe it?
Well, I can, sitting on the other side of it now, and a few years down the track, it's a real shame that we let people come into Parliament who don't believe they have a responsibility to the people they represent. They do enough to get a vote or to get placed on a list, and then from there, it's all performative. They're not doing their job effectively.
They work for the party, don't they? Not for the people.
Well, the list MPs absolutely do, yeah. If you have an
Yeah.
electorate, it's a different story. You have to face those people.
Yeah,
You have
but
to be
still,
accountable.
you still got to be loyal. There's a party element to that.
Well, I remember talking to someone recently about someone who you'll be familiar with, Simon O'Connor,
Yeah.
and they said that he is one of the greatest men they've ever met, first of all, and that he was never going to last in Parliament because he was too honest. And
Yeah.
as a citizen of New Zealand who votes, that was a real disappointment to hear that honesty is a disqualifying factor in our Parliament.
I can't believe YouTube would have been excluded in the information gathering part of it, given that they are the biggest platform, really.
One of the biggest, not just excluded, declined an offer to contribute.
I just can't get my head around that. I would
So
have been saying, come on in. Thanks
exactly.
for contacting us, you know.
So YouTube and Meta are similar in the sense that they are huge platforms. YouTube, however, though, offers, and Meta to a degree, but YouTube largely offers a logged out viewing experience, right? So you don't have to have an account to use YouTube. Now, what YouTube has spent tens of millions, if not billions of dollars on, is obviously developing algorithms, developing systems that help show you content that you want to see or that they think you might want to see. And one of those systems that they develop is age assurance content filters. So when you don't have an account, all of those protections are off. And that's what they said at the outset of this ban. It's like, hey, look, we actually have all these systems built in that filter out certain content for children. It's not 100% perfect. Obviously, people can cheat the system, but it is actually part of what we've developed, which is a system embedded that filters content for children. That's where you've got YouTube for kids, which again, not 100% perfect, but neither is a ban.
Well, nothing ever can be, Nathan, right? I mean,
exactly.
Yeah. Sorry to
What it
jump
doesn't
in.
do, though, is it doesn't limit people's ability to search for information, to access information, to impart information, all of which are protected in New Zealand under the Bill of Rights.
It feels like, get your comment on this, that the politicians kind of are going for the low-hanging fruit here, what they perceive as the low-hanging fruit. They can get a big bang for the buck on this, and they can get out, in their campaigning mode and saying, we're saving the children and all that sort of stuff. And probably Mr. and Mrs. Average Mum and Dad, who hasn't done too much thinking about this, I'm making assumptions there, I know, but I think that's a point, probably going to be captured by that message. Oh, at last someone's doing something about it. It feels like it might play out that way.
If you surveyed 100 parents and asked every one of them, are you capable of looking after your own children? How many people do you think would say no openly, right? And that's the narrative that's been pushed, is that the vast majority of parents are incapable of parenting their children. They're incapable of caring for their children. When we submitted to the Select Committee, we had 3 solutions. We said that there needed to be parental involvement as the first line of defense, because we believe in parents. We believe in families and communities. We said, second of all, there needed to be education and digital resilience training. And thirdly, we said there needed to be targeted enforcement. The reason we say targeted enforcement is because this is such a fringe issue and a minority issue that we can address it with the correct levers, not broad state bans. Now, in Australia, Meta's come out and said that in their study of the ban and monitoring it, what's appeared to have happened is all these parents have supported a ban, have pushed for a ban, and now that it's passed, they've completely disengaged from their child's online life.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So they are screaming out, hey, you parents wanted us to enforce this ban. You're not helping us to implement it. And the parents' response is, well, the government said they'd look after it. What Meta has seen, though, is that in the cases they've been able to observe, that parental involvement, where it's been increased, and education, where it's been increased, has brought the greatest result in improving online experience. That's from one of Meta's top safety experts. And she actually said that in New Zealand on ZB. So it's not that our government isn't aware. This is a conversation that's unfolding. It's happening in New Zealand. We are being willfully ignorant and blissfully ignorant to the actual realities of what a ban would do in New Zealand.
It speaks to a bigger issue, doesn't it, Nathan? And that is, how do I put it? This tendency now to outsource parenting. I mean, it's been a while since I've been a parent, of kids. Yeah. They're all grown up now. But, I'm just thinking back in that day, we didn't have the same social media challenges. They were starting to bubble away. They were starting to show themselves on the horizon. But I don't remember outsourcing my parenting role at any time. And now I see that it looks like that's what's happened. And it's pretty sad, isn't it?
Well, the way that we've seen it described is it's co-parenting with the state, right?
Right. Yeah.
And in Indonesia, for example, they're looking at bringing a ban in. Their own comms from the government said, hey, parents, you no longer have to worry about handling this because we, the state, will do it for you. Similar in Australia, same as what's being pushed here in New Zealand. Hey, parents, you don't even need to be concerned about what your children are going to do at school now. Don't worry about curriculum. You don't have to worry about what they're going to eat. We'll feed them lunch. You don't even have to worry about what they're going to do on the internet because we'll control the internet. This is the seeds of socialism. This is the seeds of control over your entire life, your ability to parent, your ability to access and impart information, your ability to speak and express yourself freely. This is where it starts. And it all starts with this idea that we can create a safe, perfect environment. Environments and societies, safety is a luxury. The underpinning, the foundation of a great society is freedom. If we substitute freedom for safety, it won't be long until we have nothing of the sort. Truth will be a thing of the past. Freedom will be a thing of the past, a thing of fantasy. We cannot continue to walk down this route of safetyism because we'll find ourselves in chains.
Yeah, safetyism sort of feels like some sort of, say, religion.
It is.
Yeah. Because first of all, it's just not possible. Okay, so reality tells you. I mean, I could walk out the door today like I have 100 times 1,000 times without any issue at all. And I remember once no, I won't, no, because that will reinforce safetyism. I won't tell you that analogy. But, anything could happen. I can't prevent it. And circumstances in the big picture are substantially beyond our control.
Yeah.
To hear politicians who have a history, the party they're in, the political philosophy they have is based on freedom.
Yeah.
Yet it's so easily kind of just thrown over.
Well, one of the very few parties who has pushed back against this openly is ACT, which you would expect from the likes of New Zealand's
Yeah.
Libertarian or Western Liberal Party, right? So Dr. Parmjeet Palmer did a really good job at voicing her concerns. Unfortunately, she was just one out of 9 MPs who sat on this committee, and the rest of them unanimously agreed. That was one of the really interesting parts of their statement was we haven't undertaken a robust cost and benefits analysis of these suggestions, but we all strongly support it. So I suppose if you are just looking for people who tell you what they strongly support or what their emotions tell you in your select committees, then they've done their job. But that's, in my view, not their job.
Okay. So what do you think happens from here, Nathan? We can jump up and down and bark away and say all these
Yeah.
things, which are all based on logic and freedom and all those things. But what do you reckon?
Well, we still have the ability to say no. We can push back on this. There's obviously a members' bill that went through the select committee process and is now before. We'll be getting towards sort of the process for royal assent. We can still say no. We've got a petition at Pillar, but we're also working hard to sit down with some of these campaigners. I'm meeting with one of the leaders of digital identity at the end of the month, talking to the Before 16 campaigners, just trying to get them to see that maybe they haven't thought out a response as thoroughly as they could have or should have, and trying to get them to effectively come across and agree that yes, there's an issue with kids and social media and the online world, but a blanket state ban won't work. So what can we do? We can say no. We can sign the petition. We can write to our MPs. We can obviously not comply. If there's platforms who adopt sort of age verification, identity verification, we could not use those platforms. There'll be very little commercial interest for a company to comply if they were going to lose all of their business in New Zealand. And I think if we can have this mass movement of rejecting this on the basis that it is infringing seriously on our privacy, on our security, on our rights to freedom of expression online, we could really see this stopped in its tracks. And we did it with hate speech laws, obviously, as a country. We said no. We defeated a majority government on that issue. We can do it again.
It's interesting, though, because the media who communicate these messages to a large proportion of the New Zealand population, the outsourcing, the parents outsourcing, there's a hidden thing there because they're actually competing against these platforms. And it's in their interests to see them restricted because it possibly gives them an extra breath of life. They're still going to end up crashing and burning in the meantime. So I guess the point I'm making is, will there be honest reporting? Will there be honest debate in that area of the media?
To be honest with you, I don't have faith that the media is going to report on this in good faith, because we see a survey released probably 2 or 3 years ago now showed that less than a third of Kiwis trust traditional legacy and mainstream media now, which is why I'm talking to RCR right now, and not RNZ, because they're not going to cover this issue with integrity and journalistic integrity. So they have a commercial interest. There's been other talks around making amendments to our media landscape where there would have to be these undue costs put on international carriers or news providers that they would have to sort of front a bit of our bill to support our dying media landscape, TVNZ and
well, why don't they
RNZ
give us some money then too, right? I mean, it's very selective, okay?
Exactly. And this is the issue with anything that's sort of state-owned and operated, because it's not state-funded, it's taxpayer-funded. We pay for this thing that we don't even like, we don't even use. You can have this conversation about anything from infrastructure to transport to healthcare, right?
But even the commercial operations, Nathan, because you look at the ZBs and stuff like that, they are literally competing against platforms and will be in a far harder competition environment going forward with people like us, the platform. And there'll be more, right? There'll be more. And then there are the overseas. So it's in, I'm sort of grinding the same thing here, but it's in their interests to kind of scare or inject the fear into the parents who are outsourcing to go along with this, to buy it.
Yeah. And that's where you are so crucial, Paul, and your team in providing an alternative perspective, to providing an alternative narrative. I think off the back of the COVID inquiry, off the back of information about the Public Interest Journalism Fund, all of these things have not increased public trust in institutions. This is a new era we live in, a
No,
new
they've nose
information era.
dived into the ground. Is what they've
Absolutely,
done.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And as they continue to dig that hole, because they haven't recanted, they haven't retracted, they haven't renounced, there will be further and further research, exploration, and pushing into the things that you are producing. So I think it's breeding healthy competition in a sense, but it also is offering an opportunity to independent media and new media to really capitalize by being credible, independent, and transparent in how they produce the news.
All right. Good chat, Nathan. Anything else you want to say before we bag and tag it and get it up to the people?
I would just say this, that parents in New Zealand need to realize that you don't need the government to come along and tell you how to parent your children. You are capable. You are equipped and resourced. The internet is a wonderful, wonderful tool. Yes, it has downsides, but the benefits are net positive for sure. You should be involved in your child's digital life. You should know what they're doing on the computer, on the phone. I mean, I'm a father of 3 children. I have very clear rules around device usage and whether I'll be giving them devices. I would
Nathan,
just
tell
say,
us what those rules are.
so they don't use a device outside of my supervision, and when they do use those devices, that I'm very aware of what they're watching and what they are doing on those devices. They won't own smartphones until after they're 16, and that is not being mean. That's not being a bully. That's called being a parent. We're not babysitters. We're parents. We don't need the state to come in and do this job for us. And I would say to parents, be educated, do some digital education, some resilience training, and talk to your child about what's like. We have this book my wife and I read to our sons. It's called Good Pictures, Bad Pictures. It's a book that we picked up at the Family First Forum, and it talks about what sort of content you might see online and what you should do if you see something you don't like. Talk to mum and dad, talk to a teacher. All of these things are things that parents can do. And guess what? Every parent can do them. I want to reject the lie that majority of parents in New Zealand are not capable parents or efficient parents. They are absolutely capable. So, we really need parents to take up a responsibility here.
I mean, if we accept that it is a problem, the scale of it is probably debatable, but we have to find ways of navigating through it and
the debate has been trapped there on whether or not this is an issue, and not because that's where the debate actually is. That's just where they want you to look. There's no one denying that there's an issue. There's no one denying that we should do something about it, and that's not where the debate needs to be had. The debate needs to be had around what are the solutions and what do we do about it. We've given 3 very clear solutions, and we hope that people will be able to take those on.
Nathan Seiuli, really nice to have you on, Executive Director of Pillar NZ. We'll catch up again and see how this whole thing progresses and sort of keep our finger on that pulse. All right?
Yes. Thank you so much, Paul. Great to talk.